and my male health markers. So here you can see the rest of those. We can look at my free testosterone, 119 milligrams per deciliter, and then my total testosterone, which is 947. So what really matters is the free T, that is what is actively floating around in your body. I went with Function Health, they're a private company. You pay around $400 a year and you get two blood tests a year. So you get your first one done, you get blood drawn on two different weekends. They take a lot, and then they give you 116 biomarkers and they tell you what's in range, what's out of range, basically giving you a full breakdown or snapshot of your health at a certain time. What's up, guys? Hope everyone's doing well. This is Marpe update number 11. So here's how I look. Still noticing a little bit of that asymmetry on the one side that I've been bringing up. But I wanted to start off the video on that note quickly with watching a little clip from Ron, an older one actually, 3 years ago. So he is talking with someone who is going or just had MSE. So, and he's bringing up the asymmetry and how it's actually possible to correct some of it through orthodontics. So I'm going to go ahead and play this part right here.
Stepping back from your case, you are absolutely right. This is why it's so important to have an experienced MSE provider, because an inexperienced MSE provider might not have an eye to see this type of asymmetry developing in real time, whereas an experienced MSE provider will have had cases like yours and will have gone through the years of orthodontics that it's going to take to correct that asymmetry in terms of slowly working those teeth in on the right side. And then slowly intruding them to correct the cant. It's doable, and when that process is done, you're going to look great and you're going to feel great.
Yeah. That's the part I really wanted to touch on, just because I feel like I'm going through part of that right now, and yeah, I guess we're not gonna see the finished product is what I keep telling myself, and I believe I brought that up in the asymmetry up to Dr. Evans and talked about it in a past update, but she did reassure me that the bones are remodeling and that at the end everything's gonna come together. But kind of the main thing I wanted to look at today was my blood work. So I got blood work done before my expansion, and I brought it up on my call with Ron. That video is going to be dropping soon, and he brought up the interesting point, what is it going to look like before expansion and after expansion, which is something I guess I really didn't think about, how my expansion would affect my blood work. I got this done because I was interested in different things that could be holding me back in terms of my biomarkers. So let's go ahead and jump into my biomarkers. These are, keep in mind, before my expansion. So I went with Function Health, they're a private company. You pay around $400 a year and you get two blood tests a year. So you get your first one done, you get blood drawn on two different weekends. They take a lot, and then they give you 116 biomarkers and they tell you what's in range, what's out of range, basically giving you a full breakdown or snapshot of your health at a certain time. And then you come back in 6 months. I'll scroll down here. So right here, they have the option for me to schedule my retests for my things that showed up out of range. I don't know if you have to actually wait the full 6 months. I think they recommend 3 to 6 months for waiting for that second one. You can always pay for additional tests on top of this to be tested again for a certain biomarker or a group of them before your membership is set to renew. But basically, I would get tested twice a year. We look at the two and compare the changes, and they chart it out for you so you can see what's improving, what's getting better, and what's staying the same. So I'll stop talking and we'll jump right into my biomarkers. So we'll start with the out of range. So we'll come in here and look at my autoimmunity. So not really too sure about the ANAs. I did have AI break down some of this. It didn't seem like the heart things were too out of range, but a little bit concerning and something to keep an eye on. What I was more concerned with was the ferritin, the omega-6, and the sex hormone binding globulin. So high SHBG basically binds up the free testosterone that's floating around, and less of it gets to your muscles and your brain and all of that. So basically, you don't want the sex hormone, the SHBG, too high. So I'm definitely going to be working on lowering that naturally while we can. Another big thing, and probably the biggest thing that I noticed off this blood test was I'm borderline anemic, I guess, or have a low store of iron. So my ferritin was pretty low. I've been trying to take iron supplements consistently. I did notice I was feeling tired during the day. Part of that could be related to the sleep problems that I was having. But again, this is a big red flag for energy and overall just feeling tired. In the omega 6s being out of range, I guess that's directly related to your seed oil consumption. So I'm definitely not perfect, and we do live in a world with a shit ton of seed oils and processed crap in our food. So that was spiking my omega 6 levels. What you can do to try to alleviate this, obviously, other than eating less seed oils, is taking a high quality omega 3, like the one from Metagenics called Omegagenics. They make a really good liquid fish oil supplement, DHEA and omega 3, that is highly recommended by Dr. Rhonda Patrick over on Find My Fitness. When I take it, I will say the main effect I notice is having less dry eyes. I do wear contacts most days, so that was a big thing for me. So let's jump over and check out what is in range. You can get a pretty good idea for all of the things that function tests for. So they test a lot more than other doctors would normally feel comfortable writing up for you. I remember I was feeling tired and overall just crappy a few years ago, and I went to my primary care doctor, and they were almost unwilling to write me tests. They eventually did and gave me the hormone and electrolyte or vitamin test I was asking for, but they did not test for ferritin. I feel like the doctor should be able to hear my symptoms out and be able to prescribe or write up a blood test that corresponds to those symptoms. And the fact that I had to fight for one, and then I learned that it wasn't even submitted to my insurance and I had to pay for that fully out of pocket. So that blood test for probably 10 biomarkers ended up being more expensive than this blood test from Function Health with 116 biomarkers. So I do not recommend asking your doctor to write your blood work unless they have done it before. But I found, or in my experience, if you're a younger person and you're having symptoms, my doctor looked at me sideways, and I feel like they're most likely just going to brush you off. At least that's how it's been in my experience. So that's what gave me the motivation to go to a third party to have my blood work written up. And I'm glad I did because I got a very comprehensive breakdown. And now I'm able to take this, I have it exported into a Excel file. So basically, I take that and give it to doctors that I'm going to. I did give a copy to Dr. Evans when I was having my bleeding complications, and the first thing that she noticed was the low ferritin and pointed out that that has a direct correlation to bleeding risk. So going back through my biomarkers, we see my electrolytes all came back in range. I do remember when I got this test done a few months ago that I was being very vigilant on making sure I had proper hydration. My lead and mercury was all in check. Everything here was all in check. The rest of my heart biomarkers, again, keeping an eye on those other 5. It's going to be interesting when I retest those. Immune markers, kidney markers, liver markers, they were all in check. And my male health markers. So here you can see the rest of those. We can look at my free testosterone, 119 milligrams per deciliter, and then my total testosterone, which is 947. So what really matters is the free T. That is what is actively floating around in your body. But since my SHBG is high, it is potentially binding up a good amount of this free T. So you see this level, but it could be lower due to the SHBG binding that up. Again, you might have to go watch a couple Derek More Plates, More Dates breakdowns to understand the full male health side of things. But I wasn't completely upset with my biomarkers here, but it is interesting if we click in, my estrogen was also on the higher end of the reference range. I do have testosterone that's on the higher end of the reference range as well. And I'm on dutasteride, which could be shifting this hormone profile a little bit. So keep that in mind if you know what all that stuff means, what dutasteride is, and how that can affect your testosterone to DHT profile and the rest of your hormones, honestly. But that's where I am for that. Going to be very interesting to see where the rest of this falls, especially. I'm not sure the nutrients will be affected very much by the expansion, but maybe the stress and the aging side of things, cortisol. I'm not really sure. I guess this is a cool experiment that we're running. So I will come back to you guys with an update when I have my second set of results from Function Health. But there we go. That was a breakdown of all my biomarkers before I started expansion. If you guys liked the video, smash the like button, leave a comment if you have any questions at all. Subscribe because I'm going to keep the Marpe updates coming, and I hope you guys enjoyed.